Hey everyone, it's Miriam with a Y from Miriam's Nature. Okay, the goal for today's pour is fiery drama. I don't know if I'm going to get that, but that's the goal. I want something that has lots of black with brilliant pops of this warm palette. So let's see if we can pull that off. Now, I know that a lot of people are using craft paints, so I want to test those with the dimethicone. So I'm going to use 3 crafters paints for the yellow, the red, and the orange. And I'm using bright yellow, bright red, and pure pumpkin from Deco Art. The black and the yellow ochre are still Artist Loft paints. My plan is to put dimethicone in the red and the yellow ochre and not in these 3 colors. I want to see if less dimethicone can still give us all the crazy cells that dimethicone seems to be giving me no matter what I do. Let's make our dirty cup. Now, I know a lot of you know my love-hate relationship with yellow. It always seems to dominate my pours, and I've got 2 different yellows for this cup. So I don't know what I'm thinking, but I decided that I was at least going to start with a color other than yellow, so I started out with red. And I guess now I will add one of my yellows. This is one that has dimethicone in it. And we need lots and lots of black for this. A little blast of orange. Some more red. Definitely more black. I'm not going to put yellow after the black because that combo is never really fabulous. It always seems to give me this greenish color. So I'm going to wait a little while. Okay, now I'll add some yellow, some more red. I'm going to throw in some magenta just for fun. Some more black. Blending with black. Our cup is made. I hope it gives us something cool. The cup is flipped and I've let it sit for about 2 minutes. And I've painted the edges of the canvas panel black because there's so much black in this pour. In case when it runs off the edge, you don't get a pale edge. And also, just in case I don't get it to make it all the way to the edge, and I don't want to have to tip just to get something to the edge if it's so pretty and I don't want to mess with it. So, all the more reason to paint the edge in now. All right, I have never worked with this color palette before, so I am anxious to see what we get. Wow. This is so different than anything I've done. Ooh, there's a little bubble that I'm going to go in and correct now. Wow. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. There are some cells here, but they're really pale. You probably can't even see them on camera. But because they're so pale, I'm going to tilt that way. I don't mind losing this area. I also don't want to lose this. There's this really pretty band here. I want to try to maintain that if possible. And I may go this way a little also and try to see if I can maintain that little spot of magenta because it's just too cute. Okay, I am gonna come this way first and see. I'm not going to tilt like crazy because this is cool. I don't want to mess with it too much. Let's see. I think now a little this way. And that's enough. Okay. All right. I don't want... I think if I tilt this way, I'm going to push onto this and it won't move with me. So I'm going to add some black paint there to help it along. I'm being very careful about how I apply it because I don't want to mess with this. Ooh, and it's pretty. It's pulling the paint that's there. Oh, it's awesome. Let me zoom you in so that you can see. So as I'm adding black paint here, it is feathering already, which is great because I was trying to figure out how I was going to get that edge out. I'm going to do the same over here so that I can bring this out without having to tilt it. So just because black paint is meeting what's there, the minute it touches it, it pulls at the paint that's there and pulls it toward the black, which is great. I'm going to do this corner the same way. Just a little line of black paint to touch what's there and filling it in. Wow. This is so, I don't know, it's dramatic. I really have to use that word. It's very fiery. Filling in the corner here too, the edge here. Now ordinarily when I'm going to paint something on white, I fill the canvas with a white layer of paint before I do the pour. I didn't want to do that with the black because I didn't want this paint to mix with more black paint on the canvas because I don't want the colors to dry and lose their vibrancy. That was my concern. I don't know if that would have happened, but I didn't want to take the risk. So I only painted the border. And I think I'm really glad I did because since I don't want to tilt, because I don't want to lose this, there would have been too much paint on the canvas. So this is going to take longer than usual to dry because I'm not going to mess with it. I really don't think so. I'm going to fill in the areas that still need a little something in terms of paint, but I don't know that I'm going to be playing with this pour. For those of you that like to watch that, I'm really sorry, but it's just too cool to mess with, I think. Don't you think? I've spun the canvas around to check the edges, and this edge hasn't run off the side. And like I said, I don't want to tilt it off, so I'm just going to touch very lightly into, because I love this little splotch of red, so I definitely don't want to mess with that. So I'm just very gingerly touching the edge and pulling down. because otherwise what'll happen is when the paint dries, that edge, that will sort of cause a little bit of a ridge once the paint is dry. So you really want to get it to run off the edge so that you don't have that. And that's what I'm doing. So I don't want to do this with my finger. I don't want to disturb too much. Let's check another edge. This edge is all good, but I am going to run the stick along the bottom to make the drips fall. The reason I go out of my way to remove the drips under the canvas is sometimes what I've found is that when I leave them there, because they're sort of a heavy weight of paint, they'll pull things off the canvas that you might have liked. So I always make sure to remove them so that they don't disturb something on the edge that I might like. And then sadly notice later has kind of been pulled off. All right. Let's make sure this edge is good and drip free. This is all run off pretty well, except for there's a lot of drips underneath. And see, if the drips stayed, they could continue to pull the paint this way, and I certainly don't want that because I love this. So just running the stick along the bottom, and it makes all the drips fall, and the paint stops falling along with it. And the last edge. See, isn't that amazing? All I had to do there was add some black paint and it pulled and feathered that edge. Ugh, love it. And this is all run off the edge nicely. So again, just pulling off the little drips. There's just really nothing for me to add to this because it's just pretty on its own. Well, it's not pretty, it's just bold. Very different than anything I've ever done before. But I think it turned out pretty cool. So this is a color palette that I've been honestly afraid of, but I think I'm going to venture into a little more. Yeah, the only area that doesn't have a lot going on is right here. But, you know, I've thought about, should I add something there? But it's okay that there's a little bit of sort of empty space, if you will, because there's stuff that picks up here, and then there's a pale red sort of swath here. I am not going to mess with this. So I think I've done enough to it. But while I have you zoomed in, I'll show you more details. So this is the area that theoretically could use something, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let it be. And then this is the feathery, fiery edge that I just love. Admittedly, this is not a canvas I had to work on much at all, but it was pretty clear early on that this was going to be rather awesome all on its own. I've been so reluctant to do this red, yellow, and black palette, but this is a leap I'm so happy I finally took. Leave me a thumbs up if you think it was worth trying. And tell me in the comments what colors you shy away from, and if maybe now you've been a little inspired, maybe, to play outside of your normal box. I hope you enjoyed this. Keep a lookout right here for some airbrush play with acrylic pours. Definitely subscribe for that. You don't want to miss it. One of the things I realized while starting to play with the airbrush is that the alcohol ink I often use for jewelry and tiny paintings is a blast to airbrush too. In the past, I've tried canned air for that, but the airbrush is more economical and way more fun. Let me know if you're interested in seeing alcohol ink and or resin work. Those are two things I'm actually more at home with because I've used them for so long. I want to say many, many thanks to those of you that have amazingly contributed to this channel. Because of you, I'm able to keep this going. Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up, click the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.